Hello, and welcome to Raising the Bar with the MBBA. I'm your co-host, Adeola Adejobi.
And I'm Jason Clark, president of the Metropolitan Black Bar Association. The MBBA is the largest association of predominantly African-American attorneys in New York. Our goal is to advance equality in the pursuit of justice, assist in the professional development of our members, and address legal issues affecting New Yorkers.
The goal of Raising the Bar with the MBBA is to foster a substantive conversation about the justice issues in our community and to try to identify a couple of solutions in the process. Today, we are going to talk about protecting small businesses.
Joining us now is Akira Arroyo, director of the Neighborhood Entrepreneur Law Project at the City Bar Justice Center, as well as Aleeia Abraham, founder of the Black Resource Network. Welcome, and let's get to it.
Yes, thank you.
So let's start with you, Akira. So before we start talking a little bit about protecting small businesses, can you tell us a little bit about the work of the Neighborhood Entrepreneur Law Project at the City Bar Justice Center?
Sure, thank you. First of all, I want to say thank you for inviting me to your show today. Honestly, it's an honor, it's a pleasure. I'm usually behind the scenes doing a lot of the management work of the project, so they don't let me out very often. Thank you, folks, for that.
Happy to have you.
But at the Neighborhood Entrepreneur Law Project, it's a program at the City Bar Justice Center. It's one of about a dozen programs that we have there. What we do, and we've been operating for about almost 20 years now, we provide pro bono legal services to low to moderate income micro entrepreneurs. We've been doing this, as I mentioned, for almost 20 years. And during that time, we've assisted over 15,000 entrepreneurs and small businesses. We're able to reach that many businesses through the use of volunteer attorneys. One of the missions of the Justice Center actually is to leverage the resources of the private bar. And as you can see, that's what we're doing. We provide pro bono legal services to New York's sort of most vulnerable populations. And as we're seeing now in particular, small businesses really do make up a large portion of that population, particularly under these circumstances.
Yeah, that's great. And so, Aleeia, for our audience, can you talk about the Black Resource Network and the work that you do?
Sure. The Black Resource Network, we're a new group. We started maybe 7 to 8 months ago. And it's a group for Black people in Queens to network and share resources. And ideally, this is an idea that can work in any community, but we started it here in Queens. And what that means is we try to kind of address any issues our members bring to us. So for example, we help with volunteers at the pantry. We do workshops and seminars on health and wellness and diet and immunity and public speaking and public housing. But probably our biggest efforts is how we support our small businesses as a community. We are committed to supporting our small businesses, and that we've done small business crawls. We've taken hundreds of our residents out onto Merrick Boulevard with a focus of shopping Black. We're committed daily to promoting our small businesses in our Facebook group. We primarily communicate through Facebook. And we've heard that, one post from us has resulted in thousands of dollars for our small businesses. We have a new program that we've partnered with our Merchants Association called Black to Business. And it's a discussion to kind of combat some of the challenges with shopping Black, some of the barriers and how we can overcome them. So we're doing a number, we have a business directory that's coming out. We have these large things. So we're committed to focusing and shopping at the Black businesses in our community.
Great. So Akira, obviously this is Raising the Bar with the MBBA. A lot of what we do is we talk about what can be done from the legal perspective to try to be able to assist, reduce some of the inequities that we see in some of our communities. And one of the reasons we're so excited to have you on is to talk a little bit about what can be done, I guess, in the legal industry to try to curb some of the issues or some of the, or provide a response to COVID-19. So what are some of the things that are being done with the Neighborhood Entrepreneur Law Project in regards to responding to the COVID-19 crisis?
Sure, great, thank you. What we're doing with now, and I should back up a little bit and give you a little bit more history about the project. But as I mentioned, we work with low to moderate income micro entrepreneurs pre-COVID-19. So I have to say, unfortunately, I'm not a newbie to disasters. I started right after 9/11. And so our efforts were obviously directed towards those businesses that were adversely impacted by the events of 9/11. And since then, we've gone on to work with just low-income entrepreneurs. But we've also encountered, we've worked on other initiatives like Hurricane Sandy and Superstorm Sandy most recently. So what we've done this time around, having the resources of the New York City Bar Association, the City Bar Justice Center's relationship with law firms over the years, we've created a remote clinic. NELP typically will go out into the communities with teams of attorneys to provide legal guidance on issues really pertinent to startups typically. So disasters, while we're familiar with it, it's not where we usually provide services. So we're working with small businesses on average out in the community, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan, with our teams of attorneys to answer their questions related to starting businesses, whether or not to form an entity, questions about signing commercial leases, that sort of thing. And what we're now doing, and I have to really make a shout out to the two organizations that really reached out to us on this front and have allowed us to create our remote small business clinic. Lawyers for Good Government and one of our partner law firms, Kirkland and Ellis, reached out to us early on. This was, I think, just as our offices all sort of went remote and we were all trying to find our footing and figure out how we were going to continue the work that we've done under the new circumstances. They reached out to us offering to work with us on a clinic model, and Lawyers for Good Government is launching this on a national platform, and we were their New York City partner, along with Kirkland and Ellis. What the goal of the clinic is, it's to reach as many small businesses, New York City-based small businesses as possible. We've managed to train over 800 volunteer attorneys to participate in this project. We've put together online resources for the attorneys. We've created an online portal for these small businesses to reach us and register and sort of ask their questions, and then we will pair them with an attorney who's been trained. To date, we've had, I think, 650 small businesses reach out through the portal. Their issues obviously are mainly, I'd say 75% of the issues raised by these small businesses are related to the SBA loans and disaster relief funds and how they are eligible or how it applies to their small businesses, if at all. I mean, many of the small businesses that we work with really are, they're mom and pop shops typically. Through this initiative, we are seeing businesses with more employees, but we've capped it at about 100 employees. But 90% of the businesses that have come through our portal really are made up of 10 employees or fewer. So that, we're still keeping true to our core mission, which is to work with the smallest businesses out there. 35% of those are, have identified as a sole employee of the business. So there are a lot of sole proprietorships out there, single member organizations that we're working with. Their questions, again, 75% to 80% of those questions revolve around the SBA loans and grants programs and eligibility. And now as time has progressed, some of those questions are really more about forgiveness and how to maximize forgiveness of those loans and those programs that are being offered. That is followed by commercial leasing issues and questions. Many of the small businesses who have spaces, they're not fully aware of their rights and responsibilities and what options are out there and available to them during these times and in the current conditions, and how are they going to continue moving forward. So many of our volunteers are working and answering questions and trying to help them negotiate with their landlords on these issues. So that's just some of the issues that we're seeing, but those are the main areas of concern that the clients are bringing to our attention. I have to say, on a positive side, we're hearing more about some of those small businesses actually receiving the loans, which is why I think more of those questions that are coming up are related to how to maximize loan forgiveness, particularly for the PPP loan.
Mm-hmm. Great. So what I'm hearing is that if you're a small business and you need, if you're having issues with, getting an SBA, a Small Business Administration loan, or anything related to resources for COVID-19, that the Neighborhood Entrepreneurial Law Project is a resource that businesses can go to, if they're provided that they're small enough.
Yes, we're here. We have a team of volunteer attorneys who are available to answer questions. What happens is you come through our intake portal, and within about 2 or 3 days, we'll match you with a volunteer attorney who can answer your questions. So it's one-on-one consultation. Sorry, I tend to go off.
Yes, and just to follow up on that, can you talk more about the requirements for the small business owners? You said low to moderate income. Is there somewhere that they can go on the website in order to see what those specific requirements are? And then also, I think you mentioned that you all are working with, I believe, Lawyers for Good. And so do they also have, resources? Let's say someone has a friend in another state who wants to use a pro bono attorney as well in order to tap into those resources.
Yes, thank you. The Lawyers for Good Government, who is one of our co-sponsors on this initiative, they're launching this nationwide. They're in other states right now. They're launching, and cities, I should say also, Detroit, Boston, Washington State. I'm sure there are others that I'm definitely leaving off. But so if someone were to reach out, and that information is also on our website, they can reach out through our link, and we would then forward them to the appropriate resource. But they can also go to L4GG's website as well. So there are multiple resources. Our qualifications right now, typically, I would say we work with low to moderate income entrepreneurs. For follow-up assistance, that we will work with the entrepreneurs and the businesses that come to us. But there's no straightforward cutoff at this time. But for the clinic component, we have no income guidelines. The only guideline there is that the businesses have 100 or fewer employees. The clinic is we're providing 45-minute consultations. They're limited scope in nature, so there is no follow-up from the volunteer attorneys. But the small businesses are more than welcome to sort of come back through the module if they have other questions. So what we found is that this is really sort of like triage for many of the small businesses, which right now is what they need. Rules and regulations are changing so quickly that to reach out to an attorney, you don't know what your legal issues are right now. You just know that you're trying to make your rents. You're trying to figure out whether or not you qualify for this loan. You need someone to help you understand. And that's what our attorneys are there for. And I'll tell you honestly, we've been receiving really wonderful feedback from the volunteers who are just happy to be able to do something, but as well as the clients. And I think it's really about their having the ability to actually reach someone and speak to someone who can, is listening to their stories and also has advice and guidance to provide them. And that's one of the greatest things about this project, that, those 650 small businesses that have reached out have actually made contact with an attorney on the other end who's working with them kind of just to help them navigate through the process right now.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And for you, Aleeia, can you talk about maybe how the resources that your organization have provided has changed pre and now post-COVID, since you started about 7-8 months ago?
Yeah, so, we haven't been around for that long. So before COVID, we focused more on, having people go out to the businesses and that's how we support. But now, while we're in COVID, most of what we do is just providing information on programs and funding and opportunities and new laws and rules that the small businesses can use now that we're in these different times. So that's kind of how it's changed a lot for us. We didn't intend to be so internet heavy. We intended to be more in person, but now the needs have changed for everyone. So we're just here to provide as much information as we can for the businesses.
Yeah, and just to follow up with that, so I've known a little bit about the Black Resource Network, which has been doing a lot of terrific. I'm just always amazed at how much engagement that you've seen, especially online. What is it that you're seeing from the entrepreneurs and the small businesses out there? Like, what is it? What are the priorities and the main needs that they have right now?
They don't have the information on, what services are available to them to make sure that they're reopening. They've applied for funding, but they haven't heard anything back. I hear that a lot. And even before, they were just having problems with growth. They want to be able to offer more jobs and to have more staff, but, they just need assistance with I guess that goes back to funding. Another problem that I see a lot of the small businesses have is understanding technology and how technology can help your business. And then they need community support. They need us to recognize that putting our money into our community business really does come back to us. So those are some of the challenges that I've heard expressed in the group.
And as for you, Akira, I know you talked about some of the trends that you're seeing now as you're working with small business owners. Can you speak to maybe some of the issues that you might see that the business owners might need help with in the future?
It's wonderful actually to learn about Aleeia's organization and that she's a resource out there in the community as well. And I hope you'll spread the word about this resource.
Absolutely, I've already written down your information.
Because like you, we were very used to being out in the community. So it's a little bit harder for us to have our hands in the community and just know really what the issues are on a daily basis. But I can tell you, again, the trend has been with obtaining funds and resources to continue operating. That's current. Commercial leasing questions. What are their rights? What are the landlord's rights and obligations towards the tenants? Unfortunately, I think down the road, we're looking more at sort of on the personal side, there's going to be more foreclosures, which will also impact small businesses. Some small businesses operate out of their homes. They'll no longer have a place to run from, to operate out of. I think bankruptcy and dissolution, that's going to come up as well. I mean, we'd love to say that every small business is going to make it through this, and that's our genuine hope. But I think those are other areas that we're going to see become very, very, unfortunately, very popular or sort of needed in the future. And so we're also thinking along those lines within the City Bar Justice Center, where we have a homeowner stability project and a consumer bankruptcy project. One area that we don't have a practice area and traditionally has been bankruptcy for small businesses. So we're looking in that area right now to see if that's something we can expand into and offer services, because we realize initially, like I said, this clinic model is offering sort of a triage to these small businesses, but they're going to have longer term needs down the road, because we're 2 months into it, and I don't think anyone had expected us to go this long before being able to sort of reopen. Even the loan programs were offering coverage for 2 months of employee salaries and payroll. It's beyond that. So there are going to be tons of issues just with regards to financing, as others have mentioned.
Yeah, that's true. And also, I would say, in addition to the fact that there are small businesses that are running out of other people's buildings, and they might be going through foreclosure or bankruptcy, and how that's going to impact their small business, even if they're able to survive.
And actually, this kind of this one thing that actually just came to me as we were speaking. I mean, one of the things that was so disheartening to me was to see that there are statistics out there saying that 90% of the small businesses that applied for loans, that were only 10% of the loans that were granted for for the SBA grants were minority businesses. And I guess what I'd ask Aleeia, I mean, what is it that I guess we're seeing? What are people saying as to why they feel that they weren't able to get these loans, or what needs to be done in light of that, especially given that it seems like there may be additional funding that's coming. So I guess what I'm really trying to say is, what is it that we think went wrong the first time, and what is it that we should probably be looking forward to do if there are new funds out there to make sure that businesses in our communities, have the resources that they need?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is, from what I've heard, that they were kind of intimidated by the application and really just didn't understand what to do. I think there needs to be some kind of program to assist small businesses in filling out these applications. And they also don't know what the deadlines are and what you're supposed to have ready. They don't have the right documents. And even from my community, I know a lot of them, some of their employees might be undocumented, so they don't want to bring any attention to their business, so they're shying away from it as well. So these are some of the challenges I've heard.
Right. And then Akira, I know that one of the things that I also know about, because I mean, my main thing is I want to make sure that anyone who is watching this show, who is a small business and needs some type of protection or resources, they know exactly where to go to. But in addition to that, we also have the essential workers that are out there, right? Individuals who may have issues where it comes to just making sure that their estate planning is together, or other legal matters that they have. Like, what are some of the other legal matters, I guess, that essential workers may need, and what are some resources that may be provided? If you could speak.
Well, thank you for keeping me on point on things I should highlight. At the City Bar Justice Center, we have a legal hotline. They've expanded their services. And so for workers who are out there and those who've recently become unemployed as a result of this, part of their expanded resources now include unemployment assistance, unemployment information, insurance assistance, and pandemic unemployment assistance. So they're able to really answer questions on those issues, as well as other COVID-19 related issues. And that's through our legal hotline. But in addition, the City Bar Justice Center has a planning and estate law project. And through that project, they are offering pro bono assistance to healthcare workers, essential workers with estate planning issues. So they're helping them putting together life care documents, so living wills, and actually wills, unfortunately at this time. I think it's just a hard topic for people to deal with, but the services are there. And as we know, so many of members of our community, nurses, so forth, they don't normally have access to these resources, or they may have limited means to access this. So I think it's a wonderful opportunity for nurses, EMT drivers, even doctors to take advantage of. And they're stressed, but it's a resource for them. So we hope that they will take advantage of this. And the project is there, and they're ready, and they have volunteers willing and able to do this type of work. So it's, again, it's a wonderful resource, and we hope people will make use of it. And so there are other programs that are developing as this progresses. So, I think, thank you again for inviting me on this program to sort of talk about it. And I'm really happy to be here, Aleeia, to hear about the work that you're doing, and hope that we can actually maybe connect afterwards to also spread the word. And it's great to hear from you what you think the needs are, because it's important to me to try and help meet some of those needs, at least with regards to the legal issues that are out there.
I know you also mentioned that you work very closely with pro bono attorneys. Can you talk more about that in case there are some attorneys that would like to volunteer their time with you? Like, what is the process around that?
Absolutely. I mean, I'm the only person and a coordinator running NELP. So all of this work is done because we have so many pro bono attorneys who are interested in doing this. And without them, we wouldn't be able to provide the services that we do. Anyone who's interested in volunteering can go to our webpage at the citybarjusticecenter.org to learn more about how to become a volunteer and register with us in the project. They can also learn about the other programs at the Justice Center, but they really are the ones who make this happen for us. So again, I've been doing this for 20 years, and without the pro bono volunteers, that 15,000 number that I gave you at the beginning of the show, where we've assisted 15,000 entrepreneurs, it would be nowhere near that if it were just one staff attorney on board doing that work. So it's through our resources, our connections to the law firms and the in-house legal departments, and even the law schools, that we have been able to reach those numbers. And there is still interest, so we really do want to get the word out about our services and help as many small businesses as we can, particularly as there is confusion, and as Aleeia pointed out, people are unaware of how to apply. The fact is that there is still money available under the PPP program, so these small businesses should get in their applications. And so that's why I'd really like to talk to you about some of that. Well, we're not actually assisting with the filing of the applications. We can help guide you through that process so that you better understand what it is that you need to get done.
Mm-hmm. Great. And then just in the last a couple of minutes, I think we only have about 3 minutes left right now, so we're quickly advancing to that time. But Aleeia, I mean, looking, I guess, toward the future, once we, come out of this pandemic, what are some of the things that you think small businesses are really going to need assistance with? And what are ways that you think, other, the legal community and just even outside the legal community? What are some of the things that small businesses are going to need once we get past this pandemic?
Yeah, we've been talking about it all episode. It's the knowledge, it's the information. They just need access to information that they understand, that's not intimidating. A lot of times I hear them say, they make it so complicated, so I'm not going to apply. You know, it's only for people that understand. It just needs, they need someone or some kind of service just explain to them the way they understand, just the basic knowledge on what's available for them. I think they miss out on a lot of opportunities because of that.
Okay, great. And actually, I think this is also a good time also to mention that, you know, if anyone, if they're a small business or even if they're just an individual, if they're starting to get calls regarding debt collection and folks are trying to, you know, take money that they may have received from the stimulus, I guess there's stimulus income that went out, revenue that went out to folks, you know, they are not allowed to do so. So definitely make sure you reach out, whether it's to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the New York State Attorney General's office, or what have you. And of course, you know, also keep in mind that, you know, there are resources out there, whether we're talking about your commercial lease or your individual home, because, you know, there is this this mandatorium that's been put in place so that people can't be evicted. But there's also probably going to need some time to be able to negotiate some of these, you know, back rent or what have you. But there are resources out there that are available to help.
All right. Well, thank you so much, both of you, for being with us. You all provided us with so much knowledge and information, and we're sure that our audience is very excited about that. And we want to thank you, the audience, for watching Raising the Bar with the MBBA on the Manhattan Neighborhood Network. And we'll see you next time.
See you. Goodbye.